At 00:16 hours on June 6, 1944, one of the most daring tactical insertions in military history unfolded without a single engine sound. Piercing the pitch-black sky over Normandy at 100 miles per hour, an 8-ton structure made entirely of wood plummeted toward enemy lines. This was British Airspeed Horsa No. 1, piloted by Staff Sergeant Jim Walwork. In total silence, the aircraft smashed through barbed wire barriers and touched down precisely 43 meters from the fortified German strongpoint at Benouville Bridge. Within 10 minutes, Allied airborne troops secured the vital crossing before the opposing garrison could trigger their demolition charges. Measuring 88 feet in wingspan, the Airspeed Horsa was larger than a twin-engine German Heinkel He-111 bomber, yet it possessed no propulsion system, no protective armor plating, and zero defensive machine guns. It represented the first operational acoustic stealth transport of the 20th century, engineered to solve the ultimate airborne dilemma. While standard parachute drops scattered infantry across miles of terrain with only light rifles, the Horsa delivered an entire intact platoon of 28 fully equipped troops, or heavy anti-tank firepower, directly onto a pinpoint grid coordinate. Once the tow line detached at 6,000 feet, the crew faced a true one-way operation with no ability to turn back or attempt a second landing. Before we go on, would you have volunteered to pilot an 8-ton wooden glider into contested territory in complete darkness? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for more military deep dives, and tell me where you are watching from. To understand how this wooden giant emerged, we must look back to June 1940. Following the rapid seizure of the Belgian fortress of Eben-Emael by German DFS 230 assault gliders, Prime Minister Winston Churchill issued an urgent directive ordering the British Air Ministry to form a dedicated 5,000-man airborne force. Under specification X2640, design requirements were severe. With strategic metals like duralumin aluminum and high-performance rolls, Royce Merlin engines strictly reserved for Supermarine Spitfires, and Avro Lancaster bombers, Chief Designer Arthur Tiltman had to construct an oversized heavy-lift glider entirely out of non-strategic materials. The resulting airframe was crafted from spruce timber and birch plywood sheets bonded with urea formaldehyde synthetic resins and wrapped in doped fabric. Spanning 88 feet with an overall length of 67 feet, the aircraft possessed an empty weight of 8,370 pounds and a maximum takeoff weight reaching 15,750 pounds. This allowed a payload capacity of 7,000 pounds, sufficient to transport either 28 fully armed soldiers or an operational ordnance QF 6-pounder 57mm anti-tank gun coupled to a Willys Jeep. To prevent bottlenecking frontline aircraft production lines, manufacture was completely decentralized across the British civilian furniture industry, including domestic piano makers and furniture factories like Harris Lebis and the Austin Motor Company. The initial Mark I variant required ground crews to sever the rear fuselage bolts or ignite cordite cutting charges around the airframe to deploy cargo. Recognizing the operational hazards of this method, engineers introduced the Mark II variant in 1943. This upgraded model featured a hinged nose section that pivoted open to the side and a dual nose wheel arrangement, permitting vehicles to drive directly onto the field within 60 seconds of touchdown. Large pneumatic wing flaps provided the critical capability for steep glide descents, slowing landing rollouts on rugged terrain. Deploying an unpowered wooden airframe into hostile territory carried immense operational risk. The glider entered frontline combat in November 1942 during Operation Freshman in Norway. Heavy icing severed the tow cables connecting two gliders to their Handley Page Halifax bombers, causing fatal mountain crashes that exposed the acute vulnerability of non-powered aircraft in freezing weather. In July 1943, during Operation Husky in Sicily, severe gale force winds and premature tow cable releases caused over half of the British glider contingent to plunge into the Mediterranean Sea. These early setbacks drove major tactical adjustments for the Normandy invasion in June 1944. Under Operation Tonga, British airborne commanders deployed 355 gliders across the eastern flank of Sword Beach. German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel had prepared defensive obstacles known as Rommel's asparagus anti-glider poles across French fields. Landing at 60 miles per hour on rough ground sheared the thin wooden skins, creating hazardous inertial forces where onboard anti-tank guns could break their tie-down cables and slide forward toward the cockpit. Despite these hazards, the aircrews successfully delivered dozens of Ordnance QF 6-pounder guns, establishing instant defensive perimeters that repelled armored counterattacks from the German 21st Panzer Division. In September 1944, during Operation Market Garden, over 1,200 gliders carried the British 1st Airborne Division across the Lower Rhine toward Arnhem. Over 48 hours, the fleet airlifted entire field ambulance units, signals battalions, and artillery batteries behind frontline positions. The operational climax occurred on March 24, 1945, during Operation Varsity. In a single daylight assault, 440 gliders crossed the Rhine River, marking the largest single-day airborne operation in military history, and cementing the glider as a decisive instrument of rapid vertical envelopment. Following the victory across the Rhine in 1945, the military utility of the combat glider drew to an abrupt close. Out of 3,655 units produced across wartime Britain, each aircraft cost approximately 1/10 of a standard Douglas C-47 Skytrain transport plane. Built strictly as disposable material, the vast majority were dismantled for salvageable timber, converted into temporary field shelters, or burned as firewood across liberated Europe. The men of the Glider Pilot Regiment also held a unique status in military aviation. Upon touching down in contested landing zones, these pilots transitioned immediately into frontline infantry riflemen, joining the airborne platoons they had just delivered. By the early 1950s, modern aviation technology made tactical combat gliders obsolete. The rapid development of medium-lift utility helicopters like the Bell UH-1 Iroquois and Boeing CH-47 Chinook, combined with advanced low-altitude heavy cargo airdrop extraction systems on four-engine transports like the Lockheed C-130 Hercules, provided the armed forces with reusable, powered insertion capabilities that bypassed the hazardous one-way glide profile. Today, not a single airworthy original wooden airframe survives, leaving full-scale museum reconstructions at the Pegasus Memorial in France and the Museum of Army Flying in England to preserve their legacy. The historical impact of this wooden aircraft proves that military innovation does not always require advanced titanium alloys or complex turbine power plants. In the most critical tactical moments of the 20th century, low-cost civilian craftsmanship and absolute acoustic silence achieved battlefield breakthroughs where conventional forces struggled to gain ground. Looking back at modern air assault doctrines, do you think disposable, unpowered stealth gliders could ever find a role in modern 21st century drone warfare? Or has the era of tactical glide insertion closed forever?